amazing. Anyone see them? All right. To begin, to start off, I would like to introduce you to a gentleman named Rob Hatch. Rob Hatch is the COO of Human Business Works. He teams with Chris Brogan to help people build relationship-minded, sustainable businesses. Rob has been working with humans, of all things, for 20 years. He has led businesses and organizations large and small, serving children and families throughout New England. Most recently, Rob was at the helm of a nonprofit organization in Western Maine serving children with special needs and their families. His entrepreneurial spirit helped create new programs and a new facility, leading the organization through the largest growth in its 30-year history. Rob is also, I'm happy to say, someone who just became a father for the 4th time in a very unique and extraordinary way. He and his wife had planned a trip to Africa. Was it earlier this year or last year? 2 years. 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they traveled to Africa and they did some beautiful, little bit of humanitarian work, if I may say so. And while they were there, they met a young girl. And at the time, she must have been not even a year old. Okay, she was a year old, and his wife fell in love with her. Of course, he then fell in love with her, and they have just completed a 2-year process where they have welcomed Satoda into their lives. She has just joined with his other 3 children as the youngest member of the Hatch family, and they just brought her home, 2 weeks ago. And it was a beautiful thing to watch unfold on Facebook. So please, let's hear it. A warm welcome for Rob Hatch.
Hi, my name is Rob Hatch, and yes, I'm probably still a little jet lagged from the trip to Ethiopia. We made 2 trips in about 2 months, but Satoda is home. You might even be watching right now. Hi, Satoda. So I would love to talk about Satoda, and I would love to talk about Ethiopia, but I'm actually here to talk about putting success in your way. As Lonnie mentioned, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Human Business Works, which also means I'm the grown-up. But putting success in your way is something we've been talking about a lot lately. And I just want to sort of quickly take a poll and ask if anyone in the room has ever endeavored to start something but didn't quite finish it. Diet, exercise plan, project at work, social media strategy maybe, right? So we've all had those experiences. Maybe this sounds familiar too. This is kind of personal. You sit down in front of your computer, you open up a browser, you open up Facebook, open up maybe a news site like CNN. You spend some time on Facebook, you look at a couple videos people posted, you like a few things, you comment a few things. You go over to the news site, you read an article, you see that there's an article in the business section, you think, I'm in business, I should read that article because I'm doing some research. So you read the article, you go back to Facebook, you see a few more likes that you want to give, the red dot goes on, so you're like, oh, got to respond to that as well. You open up your email, you see a couple of things in the inbox, you decide to respond to them, and you send one out, you send another one out. By the time you're done that, you see the first person responded, so now you're back and forth in this sort of real-time email conversation. Any of this sounding familiar, like the way you start your day, right? About the time 9:30 rolls around, you're realizing that you've spent, I don't know, an hour and a half in front of your computer. But it's okay, because you did respond to some emails, and you read that article about business, so you're doing okay. You get up, you go get coffee, maybe Perk at work, and then you settle back in, because we've got to ramp up to our day, right? Well, I want to talk about putting success in your way, and I also want to, you're going to hear me use the phrase, what does that look like? And that's the way my day used to look like a lot of times. And every now and then that creeps back in because it's a habit. It's hard to break those habits. And yeah, I like to ramp up to my day as well. So you're going to hear me use the phrase putting success in your way, and you're going to hear me using the phrase, so what does that look like? And advancing. There we go. Putting success in your way is actually part of something that I developed called work like you're on vacation. Sounds great, right? But it's a core principle to work like you're on vacation. And the principle is based on 3 basic assumptions. And they're well-researched assumptions as well. The first is that willpower is a limited resource. It wears out. You cannot continually exert willpower throughout the day and expect to be successful because you'll run out of it. And it's well documented. Roy Baumeister, who also wrote the book Willpower, did a great and very popular study about cookies and radishes. It's referenced in the book Switch by Chip and Dan Heath, and also The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. It gets referenced a lot. And in this study, he took hungry college students and put them in 2 different rooms. One had a plate of warm, freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. The other had a plate of radishes. And he said, he asked them not to eat the chocolate chip cookies or to eat the radishes. And by the time that they'd spent 5 or 10 minutes in there trying to resist eating the cookies, he then came in with a request to complete a task. And guess who was more successful at completing the task? The radish eaters. Because they exerted the not radish eaters. Because who wants to eat a radish? I mean, I know we're from New England, but who really wants to eat a radish? So the chocolate chip cookie folks had to exert all of this willpower to avoid eating them. And then we're completely unsuccessful in performing this task. So willpower is a limited resource. Habits are a powerful force that we are biologically prone to. Doesn't mean that we are slaves to it, but we are prone to habits. Without habits, we probably wouldn't have even made it here today. Brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, putting one leg into your pants at a time, although I tried to do 2 once and didn't work out so well. But you don't have to think about these things. Our lives are framed by these habits that help us get through the day. Decisions are distractions. There was a really cool article recently about President Obama called Obama's Decisions from Libya to Lunch. And the author spent about 6 months with him, behind the scenes, in all sorts of different facets. And whether or not you agree with his decisions, I'm sure there's lots of debate we can have. But what he did, what President Obama does, and the way that he shapes his day, is that he works to eliminate trivial decisions from his life, because he knows, and there's research to support, that for every decision you make, your ability to make subsequent decisions is degraded. So, if you spend a lot of time trying to figure out what you're going to wear, your ability to be effective at work is impacted. If you spend a lot of time on making trivial decisions throughout the day, your ability to be successful is impacted. And so he set up his day so that he only has blue and gray suits in his closet. He doesn't choose, no one hands him a menu and says, Mr. President, what would you like for lunch? It's decided long ago, and it's brought to him, and he doesn't have to think about it, because he wants that energy available for the important decisions. So, these are the 3 basic assumptions that putting success in your way are based around. Another quick story about habits. There's a famous football coach, Tony Dungy, who was the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. One of the things that Tony Dungy does when he's coaching his players is he doesn't train them to make better decisions. He trains them to eliminate decisions, to turn what they see, the cue that they see, into a habit so that they just respond to things. We think of quarterbacks like Tom Brady and read these defenses. But really what they're doing the weeks before in watching the film is actually eliminating decisions. They're trying to figure out patterns and how they're going to respond to those patterns without even thinking about it. So that work, and Tom Brady's quite famous for saying this a lot, the work's already been done. He shows up and he plays the game and he implements the plan. But the real work happens before. So just another example of how powerful habits can be. because they eliminate decisions. So there's more energy to exert, and when a play goes awry, he can then engage his decision-making process. So I have another story about guitars. Sean Aker, who I mentioned before, he's a Harvard professor of positive psychology. He actually has the most popular class at Harvard. And he wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. It's a great book, highly recommend it. And in it, he decided he wanted to learn how to play the guitar. So, he can envision what being able to play the guitar looks like. And he can, he pictures himself around a campfire with friends or entertaining family or whatnot. But he had to learn how to play. So what does that look like? What's the first step? You got to pick up the guitar, right? That's the first thing you need to do. You have to pick up the guitar. So he sets out and makes this giant chart, 21 days, because research shows that it takes 21 days to change a habit. He's got check boxes. He knows when he's going to practice. He knows where he's going to practice. He starts out, exerts his willpower, and starts out great. 21 days goes by. He looks at his chart. Only 4 days were checked off. Sound familiar? Right? How many times have we set out this plan? I'm going to do it this time. I really am. So here's a man who knows about psychology. He is a professor of positive psychology. He focuses on habits, and still this happened to him. So in looking at it, what he realized was that the guitar was 20 seconds away in a closet. And he found that what he did was he fell into an old habit of coming home, sitting on the couch, grabbing the remote, and turning on the TV. So to solve this problem, he took the guitar out of the closet, put it on the stand, and put it between the couch and the television. Literally putting success in his way. He also took the batteries out of the remote and put them 20 seconds away in the closet. But this is a core example of putting success in his way. He now eliminated the decision, like, what am I going to do, watch TV or play the guitar? He had to play the guitar. It's more likely that he was going to play the guitar. He didn't have to rely on his willpower anymore. And he used an old habit of sitting down in front of the TV to start this new habit. Charles Duhigg talks about it in his book, The Power of Habit, where you have a cue, you have a routine, and you have the reward. So what he did was took the same cue, inserted this new routine, and there's a reward, putting success in his way. I am not a runner, or I am now actually, but I was not a runner. I've hated running my whole life. But I wanted to be a runner because I could picture myself running. I could picture myself finishing those races. 5Ks. About a year ago, I got inspired by my brother-in-law to start running. He's a marathoner. I'm not a marathoner. And I came home after seeing him in a race, got some new sneakers, decided I was going to take up running. About this time of year, actually, although it was colder and rainier. And I was so proud of myself because I went out in the cold, sleet, and rain in Maine, and I ran. And I did a couple of miles. I got my 10-year-old son to come out running with me in the same sleet. And I pushed through, just using my willpower. But eventually, I wake up in the morning, and I think to myself, I don't know where shoes are. I don't know where are those shorts? Are the socks even dry? I don't know. So all these things that I needed were in various places, so I'm struggling to figure out. I'm coming up with all these excuses, really. And I'm coming up with all these decisions that I had to make. So then I don't get out of bed. So all that willpower that I exerted starts to fall away. So what I needed to do, and what I did do, was every night before I went to bed, I would have my shoes, my headphones, my armband, my socks, my shorts right next to the bed. So literally, I would roll out of bed, and I'd almost fall into my clothes. I had to put success in my way. That's what that looked like for me. Because running a 5K is not what it looks like. It's getting out the door the very first day. So what does this have to do with work? WLOV is my short form of work like you're on vacation. I was on vacation with my family, my wife's family. There are 25 now, 25 grandchildren on her side. we all get together. We go to either Cape Cod or the coast of Maine, and we spend like four days all together, all the nieces and nephews, and it's an amazing time. We love it. But I went on vacation, and I still had some work to do. There were some projects, not just that I had to do, that I wanted to do. I was excited about them, but I had to keep focused on them. So I decided that I was going to get up early and jump right into just work before anyone else got up, grab my coffee, grab my laptop, went out on the deck, beautiful day, and just worked for like an hour and a half. And I had 3 projects that I was working on. So I woke up, I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I finished. The last thing I did, maybe I checked a few emails, closed my laptop, and had an amazing day at the beach. And every day, I'd say to my wife, like, I can't believe how much I accomplished in this short time. I feel like I got more done in that hour and a half or 2 hours than I have in an entire day sitting at my computer sometimes. It's what is going on. So, I keep saying that every day. It happens again, and I'm feeling great. I'm getting a lot done. So I start talking with my coach and friend, Becky McCrae, who is the author of Small Town Rules, another great book you should pick up. Becky and I coach each other, and I start describing this to her. And I say, you know, I don't get it. I don't know what happened. And we realized that I had put success in my way. And the way that I did, what it looked like for me, was knowing exactly what I was going to work on. There were no decisions to be made. I crack open the laptop, and I have 3 things that I need to accomplish. So there were no interruptions. There were no distractions. I didn't open up my browser to check my email or check Facebook or a website. I was very focused. Opened it up, and that just knowing exactly what I needed to work on and the time that I had to do it in helped me to accomplish and be much more focused in that short amount of time. So that was the work application of this putting success in your way, and we started to sort of tease it out. And it's become something much larger, but really this idea of what does it look like? What does success look like? I think right now, I hear a lot of chatter about failure and learning from failure. And it's not that you don't learn from failure. You do. But I think it's so much more powerful to learn from our successes and to think about how we can apply those successes to new situations. Everybody in this room at some point or another, I'm sure, has gotten a job. That's a success. Maybe you bought a house. That's a success. Maybe you started a business. That's a success. It's not as successful as you might want to be yet, but these are all successes that if we think about them the way that we think about failures, we deconstruct failure. But we often don't deconstruct success and talk about, so what was it? What did it look like that I did? What were the first steps that I needed to take to be successful in accomplishing this goal? I just got back from Ethiopia twice. Something I haven't quite deconstructed yet, because the minute I start thinking about it, I get weepy, thinking about my daughter and everything that we went through. But these are successes. Like at some point when I'm a little further away from it, I get to look at that and say, wow, how did I do that? How did we do that as a family? And how can we do something like that again? And what can I use? How can I build upon what we did well and apply it to this new situation? So what does that look like? So it's very, in the beginning when I was giving you those examples of things you might have started that you didn't complete, you probably started a list in your head. You had a number of them popping up. But it's not as easy to go to the successes. So I would just encourage you to think about those successes, to think about what you've done well and what did it look like, so that you can take that and extrapolate that. So what does it have to do with social media or social business? How many of you have been to a social media conference before, maybe even this conference? Raise your hand. A lot of you. So you've at least heard about social media. You've heard about social business. You've heard experts talking. You've done some reading about it. You've been to other conferences. But still, we're all coming together, still trying to figure this out. And I think what this has to do, what putting success in your way has to do with social media is that it's just another challenge. You've been successful with other challenges. So what is it going to look like to put success in your way? What is the sneakers next to the bed for social media for you? What is the guitar between the couch and the TV for you, for social media, for your social media plan, for your business plan? That's what I'm asking you to do. Throughout the day, you're going to hear from amazingly smart people, far smarter than me, for sure, about social media and about what's going on in the social business landscape. So I would just ask you to kind of keep in mind, what does that look like? What would success look like? Where would I begin? What's the very first step I need to do to pick up the guitar, to put the sneakers on and get out of the house? What's the very first thing you need to do to put success in your way? My name's Rob Hatch. If you'd like to continue the conversation with me at any time, this is how you can reach me, at Rob Hatch on Twitter, rob@hbway.com. Thank you very much for having me, and have a great day today. Thank you.
All right. Hey, it was fun, amazing to see you're being quoted on the Twittertron over here. It's very, very cool. Wasn't that wonderful? Thank you so much, Rob. Oh, yes, we do. We have a bit, well, okay, sorry. I'm trying to figure, this is our first time today. We have a video for you. The video we have for you this time is a gal named Melanie Dodaro. Melanie Dodaro happens to be Canada's #1 LinkedIn expert. How many of those folks in the audience are on LinkedIn? Anyone heard of it? Yeah, Melanie is a wealth of knowledge, insight, and information, especially with multiple channels. LinkedIn is her spectacular strength and tour de force. So here is 3 minutes with Melanie.
Hi, I'm Alan Voivod. I'm here with Melanie Dodaro, Canada's #1 LinkedIn expert, and she's going to tell us about a bit of a misconception that people have about LinkedIn. I was really surprised to hear this, but why don't you tell everybody else what's going on?
You know, the biggest misconception that people have is that they think that LinkedIn is a place that you post your resume. And that is absolutely true if you're looking for a job. But as a business owner or an executive or an entrepreneur or a nonprofit, we're going to approach it completely differently. Our goal is to attract and engage our ideal clients, or in the case of nonprofits, more donations, which could be equated to ideal clients or customers also. So your LinkedIn profile really needs to speak to and engage your ideal client. Kind of tell your story a little bit about who you are and why somebody would want to deal with you. But here's the big distinction. Everybody thinks that it should be all about you, when in fact the majority of your LinkedIn profile should really speak to your audience. So who is your audience? What is the problems that they're facing? What are the solutions that you provide? And really laying it out in a manner that's going to speak to and engage them so that when they land on your profile, they have a reason to connect with you. And of course, the last thing, the most important thing, is give them a call to action. What do you want people to do? You know, people don't care about you. They only care about what you can do for them. So identify who they are so that you clearly know who should be connecting with you, or they know who should be connecting with you, and how you can help them. And then tell them exactly what you want them to do. Do you want them to pick up the phone and call you? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them to go to your website? Do you want them to click this donate now button? Whatever it is, whatever your particular call to action is, make sure it's spelled out clearly and easily for them.
Thank you very much. Well said.
And you have an incredible resource on your site, the 21 tips or 21...
Yeah, so, you know, it's really important to have a LinkedIn profile that's truly going to attract and engage. And there's a whole bunch more, obviously, that I could talk about LinkedIn. You know, you want to show up at the top of the search results, especially if you're a business owner or any kind of professional. So you want to make sure that you're selecting the right keywords, putting them in the right places. I have a nice handy checklist that you can download for free. Just go to linkedinchecklist.com, and it'll take you through the 21 steps that you absolutely need to follow to make sure that you have a compelling, professional profile that's optimized to get you to the top of the search results and really speak to and engage your ideal clients.
And be sure to connect with Melanie on LinkedIn as well. She is at linkedin.com/in/Melanie Dodaro. That's MELONIEDODARO. And her company is Top Dog Social Media. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ellen.